Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Drew here. Today we're going to be talking about economy picking, which for me is my favorite picking style, and it's really the one that I think enables guitarists to play fast. Alternate picking is obviously great. There's other things like hybrid picking, which in my opinion is a little bit more advanced, but economy picking really is the picking technique that, for me, like once I learned it, it unlocked speed for me. So I wanted to make a video about that, and that's what we're going to do today. But before we get into that, I wanted to tell you guys about a podcast that I listened to that kind of inspired some thoughts about discipline for me. And if you're not familiar with him, I'd highly recommend that you follow Tim Ferriss on the podcast app or however you listen to podcasts via iTunes. Definitely check him out. Basically, his whole thing is that he debunks world-class performers. So he gets these highly successful people over to his house. They drink wine. Sometimes they drink coffee. They sit down and they talk about the strategies, the day-to-day routines, the things that these people do that enable them to be successful. And there's just a lot of just super valuable things that are discussed on his channel. I could just like go through a laundry list of just like celebs and fascinating world-class performers that have been on his channel. And really what inspired me to talk about this was his guest named Jocko Willink, who is a military guy. I don't really know what he's famous for now, but I just happened to be scrolling through his podcasts. This particular one is number 187 on the Tim Ferriss podcast, but basically this guy Jocko Willink talks about a number of things, but he's talking about discipline and self-doubt in this particular episode, and I really liked what he was talking about in terms of being a creative person and developing discipline, which I think is super beneficial for me and possibly you guys as guitar players. So let me just share with you what he said. And basically his whole thing is, you know, the weights aren't going to lift themselves. The pen is not going to write the words for you. The paintbrush is not going to paint a picture for you. You have to pick it up and do it. And the more you develop a routine and you develop discipline through those things, the more likely you are to create something great. So to dig in a little bit deeper with that, we're talking about if you don't feel like picking up your guitar, or you don't feel like writing 1,000 words on a book that you're writing, if you don't feel like picking up your paintbrush and painting a picture that you're working on, you should do it anyway, because that simple act of discipline is what over time is going to enable you to be even more creative than you probably thought that you could be. So as discipline comes and you start developing that routine, that day-to-day practice, you are going to get better and better at your instrument, and there's actually more creative freedom that comes from that level of discipline. Even when I don't want to pick up my freaking guitar right here and play because I'm too damn tired, because I worked a 10-12 hour day at my retail job that I'm not passionate about, like, even though I did that, I still am gonna push myself and pick up my guitar anyway and practice, even if it's just for an hour or 2 hours. I'm still gonna sit there and play, and even if only shit and garbage comes out and I'm having a quote-unquote bad tone day where everything sounds shitty, I'm still gonna sit there and practice, because the long run is that I'm going to have more freedom on my instrument because I took the time to do that. And you know what? There's a lot of other asshole guitar players out there that aren't going to be willing to pick up their guitar and practice. And that's why if you do it, you are way more of a badass, and you are going to see results from your own playing. And I can just tell you firsthand, when I push myself and I pick up my guitar and practice, I see results, okay? It's because I schedule my practice time throughout the week. I divide and conquer each hour to decide what it is I'm going to work on. So anyway, huge shout out to Tim Ferriss and Jocko Willink. Really inspired by those two guys and just that particular podcast I heard. I will attempt to put a link in the details of this video for that. So without further ado, let's get into some mother freaking economy picking. All right. All right, guys, here we are. We are rigged up and ready to talk about economy picking. So basically, just as far as tone goes, I've got my orange Rocker Verb 100 Mark III that we're going to be using today, as opposed to the Helix. I couldn't figure out how to get a mic and guitar signal to work with my computer here. So I apologize about that. I got to do some more research and figure out the best way to do that. But then this is my pedal board down here. I'm using a Lone Wolf Audio Booze Lawyer. So we are using the motherfucking Jim Leahy down there for the lead tone, and a little bit of dirt from the dirty channel of the Mark III. So it sounds a little something like this. So it's a really cool, like, kind of covered tone. I like it for like just shred stuff. Obviously, if I'm playing on a really dense track with a lot of other like rhythm guitar, distorted guitar stuff, I'll use a much brighter lead tone. But anyway, this one's kind of cool. Just I happened to stumble across it for this video. But anyway, basically what we're going to do is take the G major scale, 3 notes per string. You're probably familiar with this. So basically, here's how it goes. I'm going to use alternate picking just so you can see that. So one thing that you probably notice is that I have to reach around to grab the other side of the string, and that's why alternate picking is great for like 4 notes per string stuff, or 2 note per string stuff like pentatonics. But anytime you're going to do a 3 note per string thing, like that's where economy picking really comes in handy. So as you can kind of see, like ultimately you can just play faster with economy picking. At least I've been able to. I don't know if you can pick that fast with alternate picking. Feel free to just blow up my comments section if you're like, no, alternate picking is the fastest. That's fine. But for me, and at least for some other guys, namely Frank Gambale, whose speed picking book was probably one of the most helpful things for me with this technique. But it also goes hand in hand with sweep picking. So that's why I like this. I love sweep picking. I'll definitely be happy to do a video on that as well. But it's really just like a pushing and pulling. So every time you change strings, you're just recycling that motion, that down motion. So if I'm ascending with this scale, basically down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up, and so on and so forth. So ascending is going to be down, up, down, repeat forever. Descending is going to be up, down, up. So when you start descending, and I love like instead of just playing the scale straight up and down, I like grabbing notes like. If I'm doing something like this. So that's pretty much it. Anytime you're ascending, it's down, up, down, down, up, down. Anytime you're descending, you're playing up, down, up. So one thing that you can do is divide and conquer that. So instead of just struggling to play the same scale like over and over and over again, what you can do is just take your right hand and just simply like do that down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, you know, like do that kind of thing. And you'd be surprised after watching an episode of Game of Thrones and doing that the entire time, how freaking good you will be at that. So another thing I recommend when you're practicing your economy picking is doing inside string practicing. So, sorry I keep bumping the camera, guys. Anyway, if you take like your G major, if you're playing in thirds, let's say, notice my pick is inside the strings, so I'll do something like this, where I go. Okay, so learning to pick inside your strings will kind of encourage this style of picking, and yeah, I would just do that on every string, and then practice that right hand, that down up down down up down down up down, that ascending descending thing, and a couple other just like basic technique things. When I hold my pick, like it points in the same direction as my first finger. Okay, so my pick isn't pointing like, like over there or something. It's pointing in the same direction as my first finger, and it's just more or less like sitting on top of that first finger. And then my thumb closes in, and that's how that works. And then when it approaches the string, it's actually at an angle. It's not completely flat. So, I mean, I'm not going to make an animated video about this. This is kind of like the best way that I can do it, but if you want to really see someone that gets in depth with that stuff, like definitely check out Troy Grady. He's examined a lot of just great players. Basically, he's like the Tim Ferriss of guitar shredders. So what are some of the things that those guys have done to become extremely successful at playing fast, whether it be Eric Johnson, Yngwie Malmsteen, some of the other like jazz fusion guys. So there's no right or wrong way to play fast. It's kind of whatever means you can do to get there, but I'm all about finding the ways that are going to unlock the economy of motion. And there's some things you can do to avoid the obstacles that could potentially slow you down. So this is the technique that's really enabled me to play fast. Thankful to Frank Gambale for his book on that, which he probably wrote like 30 years ago, but so stinking good. Love Troy Grady. Check his stuff out. Sometimes it's a little wordy and hard to follow, to be completely honest. I'm not trying to shred a YouTuber that's infinitely more successful than me, but I've watched all his videos. Sometimes it's like, dude, why don't you just show me the technique in 2 minutes, because the animation is honestly confusing. I really want to get a magnet, though, so I can make some better videos of exactly what it is I'm trying to show you guys. But anyway, Troy Grady's badass. He just gets a little wordy and overly excited about things that I don't think matter in the long term, which is why I sometimes I prefer like a Marshall Harrison, cut and dry, get to the point, show me a couple of his secrets, and then boom, that's it. But anyway, it's also fun to watch like a cartoon about shredding. Who doesn't want more of that? I definitely am a fan. So. Cool. So there you go, guys. There's economy picking. If you got any questions or concerns, or you want to know more about it, let me know. Let me know if we need to make a part 2 and make some clarifications on some things. I'd be happy to help. So, anyways, thanks for watching, and I look forward to making another video for you guys. So, until then, rock on.